Hi, and welcome to Rutland South Rotary Making a Difference. This is the third episode of our show. The first one we gave you a little bit of a background of Rutland South Rotary. The second one we talked about our raffle, and this one we're going to introduce to you what our grant program is, so how Rutland South Rotary gives back to the Rutland community. And today I have with me Ken Nelson, who is in charge of this grant program, and he's going to give us a little bit more information about it, how you can apply for it, and how we're impacting the community. So good morning, Ken.
Hello, Christine.
So Ken, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you.
Okay. I was born in Springfield, grew up. I've lived in Vermont my whole life. Graduated from Springfield High School, went on to the University of Vermont. Then I moved to Rutland in 1981 when I got promoted with MetLife. I've been in the insurance business for almost 40 years now. I've been married for 37 years. I have 3 kids, have a grandson. All my kids live in Vermont, which is fantastic. And like I said, I've been in my business for 40 years.
Awesome. So how did you get involved in Rotary?
Actually, Peter Tobin, who's still a member of the club, I didn't know much about Rotary, and he came to me and asked me to join. And my first thought was, wow, this sounds like a way that maybe I can sell some more insurance.
Oh, there you go.
which not the great way to look at it, and I promise you that I changed my attitude quickly. But I said yes, and that was 20 years ago. And I came to some meetings. It seemed like a nice group of people. I got involved right away, and I certainly one of the top things that I did, luckily I think, was that I realized I'm not really here to sell insurance. I'm here to do Rotary stuff, and that's what I did. So I became very involved in Rotary, and certainly it's helped my business over the years, but I have never, ever approached somebody in a Rotary meeting and said, let's talk about insurance. I've had a lot of folks come to me, so it certainly has helped my business as well. But it let me meet a lot of people in the community, some of the movers and shakers of Rutland, and it's been a great experience.
Awesome. So 20 years is a long time, I'm just saying. But
So, well, I'm an old guy.
What keeps you involved in Rotary? Why do you keep coming back year over year?
Yeah. Well, Thursday morning when we have our breakfast meeting, that's the earliest I have to get up every week. So that's a tough. Every Wednesday night I go to bed thinking, oh, this is terrible. Of course, getting up early for me, that's 6:30 on that day, and I don't normally have to get up that early. But once I get to the meeting, I always enjoy the meeting. It's only an hour long. A great group of people. We always have interesting speakers. And it's just a group that I believe in. I think that we're doing some great things in the community. And I couldn't recommend it highly enough.
Awesome. So, like for our viewers, our club, Rutland South, we meet, once a week on a Thursday morning at the Elks Club. And from there, we have Thirsty Thursdays. Like last night, we actually got together for burgers and brew up at the Mountaintop Inn. So we have a really great time, have some interesting speakers who come and educate us about what goes on in the community. So how would you describe Rotary to you? Like, what does it mean to you?
How do I describe Rotary? That's a great question. I guess what it means to me is that it allows me to get together with a group of people that have similar views on what we can do to help the community. Now when I say similar views, I guess that's making it a little simplistic. We certainly all have a lot of different views politically, as an example, but we can come together and we do projects and work together, and it gives an opportunity the collective group can do a lot more than any of us can do individually. So we do give a lot of money. And that's important, but we also try to do things that we get involved, doing projects, on-the-ground projects. For example, and I know we're going to get into some of the projects that we've done, but the project at Northwest School, we built an outdoor learning center for them. There were certainly people much more involved than I was there, but I spent many, many hours, and we were slaving away with shovels and rakes and wheelbarrows and stuff. So we put a lot of money into that project, but a lot of time, but when we were done, we really felt very good about what we'd done in the community.
Awesome. Do you have one project or one memory of Rotary that really stands out to you?
I think I could probably give you a few. I mean, one of the early things in Rotary that really helped me get involved, we had a president at the time, was Roy Carpenter. He's no longer in the community. But one time, we have a sergeant at arms at our meeting every Thursday morning who goes around and levies dollar fines and things like that. And Roy said to me, okay, starting next week, I want you to be the sergeant at arms. And I said, no, I don't think I can do that. I'm still fairly new in this club. And he said, no, you're doing it. See you next week. And he walked away from me. And I really said, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. But I did it, and I kind of enjoyed it. And then off and on, over the last 20 years, I've done it quite a bit. And it really drew me into the club and gave me an opportunity to really feel a part of the club. Another thing that we did, we built some bridges at Pine Hill Park, the mountain biking and walking park. That was a lot of fun. We had a great group of folks out doing that. Again, a lot of work, and I am not a carpenter by any stretch of the imagination. They would say, okay, Ken, put a screw there, there, and there, and then maybe I would get 2 out of the 3. But that was a lot of fun. And there's a nice little signs and these bridges that you're going through on your bicycle or walking. You'll see that Rutland South Rotary was responsible for these, and it makes you feel proud about what you've done. And then, of course, the other memory of Rotary is our raffle days, our big raffle once a year where we raise virtually all our money. It is a huge undertaking, an all-day event to say the least, but we always walk out of there feeling like we've really accomplished something big here. I mean, when you raise upwards of $30,000 in a one-day event, you've done something right. So,
exactly.
And that money goes back out into the community, into the grant program.
Into the grant program.
Yeah.
So that's a really good segue. So historically, some of our community may have assimilated us with the scholarship program.
Right.
So we used to give out scholarships to area high schools, but this last year we kind of transitioned into a grant program. Can you tell me why we did that transition?
Sure. Just a little background on the scholarships, which, by the way, I was the most recent chair of the scholarship program before we did transition. We'd been doing that for about 35 years, and we gave out over $390,000 to over 400 students. So this was a big thing. And like you said, we did it at the 5 area high schools, Rutland High School, Stafford, MSJ, Mill River, and Proctor High School. Fantastic program. A lot of members back in the day would say, if we ever get rid of the scholarship program, I'm out of this club, because it was that big a thing. But we actually came together and felt that, well, each year we're helping maybe 13 or 14 students. Fantastic program. We love having the students come in. We had one big day, the scholarship breakfast. We'd give them their checks. They'd say a little bit about what they're going to do, and we feel real good about ourselves. And then we'd know that we've helped these 14 kids. As we discussed this and more last year, we decided, well, we want to do something that maybe we can get a little bit wider disbursement of the dollars and have a little more powerful impact on the community. So we decided to go to a grant program whereby we're looking for projects that benefit maybe hundreds of kids primarily. Our focus is on youth. And so that's why we decided to switch to this type of program. And it met with some pushback in the club. But I think as we've come along, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody in the club that doesn't think this was the right thing to do.
Yep, absolutely. And so, I mean, transition is always hard and can be painful, but I definitely think we did the right thing here. And how long have we been doing this again?
Just since September of 2017. So we're just starting our second year. Our fiscal year begins in July, so we're in our second year of the grant program so far.
Okay. Now, what would you say for a grant program is our overall goal?
We're pretty non-specific, and that we did that intentionally. We put together a committee to try to say, okay, what exactly are we looking for here? But in general, I think we're looking for projects mostly youth-oriented, large impact, and one-time grant. So we're not looking necessarily for something where each year we're going to have to put the same amount of money into. We're looking to make a one-time grant that's in some way sustainable. Either we're purchasing items or we're bringing in speakers or something it's going to be a one-time thing. Okay. So youth-oriented, large number of folks involved.
Okay, so we definitely want to make an impact. We want to have that ripple effect into the community is what we're looking to do. How much money do we generally give out into the grant program?
The grant program, right now, it's kind of a soft number, but we're in the $17,000 to $20,000 a year range right now, and that's what we're you know, we try to stay within that, but if we hear of projects that are just something we've just got to do, then we would certainly look to find ways to fund that money, because the club does have some funds that we can delegate to these things if we need to do that.
Okay. And so, and I think this goes back to our previous program where we talked about the raffle, and that's where the ticket sales, when we have that ticket sales, that money that we're getting from the Rutland community is then being almost multiplied, because we're taking that $1 or the $110 ticket price, and we're then dispersing it throughout the community to impact so many people.
That's exactly right.
So that's really good for our viewers to know too, that when you buy a ticket to our event, you're almost giving you're giving the power to us on the ticket, but we're dispersing it to so many people.
Correct.
So
we can put those funds with the other people's money, and it certainly have a bigger impact.
For sure.
Right.
What type of grants have we given out so far?
Well, we've given out, I should have counted this up, it looks like it's about 20 grants so far. We're looking, normally, the way our grant application reads, it says we're looking for grants in the area of $1,000 to $5,000. We have certainly given out quite a few that are less than $1,000, and our biggest grant is $5,000. And that biggest grant went to the Mentor Connector. They actually have a room. If you go into the Mentor Connector's office down on Merchants Road, they have a room. It's called the Rutland South Rotary Room, and it's just filled with games and sporting equipment, pogo sticks, which I was foolish enough to get on when we were there. And they actually honored us by giving us the opportunity to cut the ribbon when that room was opened. And April Kuhl is our current president. I wanted her to do it, but she wanted me to be involved with that too, and that was a great honor to do that. So that's our biggest grant. The second biggest grant we've given is the Rutland County Parent-Child Center. They're building a new facility, and they needed some toys and some like plastic dishware, childcare furniture, and things like that. We gave them $4,360. We gave $3,000 to the Adult and Teen Challenge, which is a program in the area that helps with drug rehabilitation. We felt very strongly about that. It's a problem that we hear about frequently in the Rutland area, and we looked at ourselves as a club and said, what have we done to help this problem, or to help alleviate this problem, and realized it hadn't been much. So we felt good about that. We've given money to a number of classrooms to buy books. At Barstow School, we bought iPads. We bought chicken egg incubators for Proctor's Elementary School. Bookshelves, chairs. We bought whiteboard tables for a class, Mrs. Fagan's class over in Proctor. We're about to donate $1,350 to RSVP, Operation Dolls and Toys, where they refurbish all kinds of toys for the community to give out at Christmas time, and that's we're looking forward to actually seeing that project work. We're going to be there in the next couple of weeks to make that check presentation. And we gave some waterproof suits to the Rutland Town preschool, pre-kindergarten classroom, so they can go outside and play in the mud and have some fun there, and still send the kids home with the clothes that the parents still don't have to throw away or burn. Right?
I know, and the parents, I am sure, appreciate that.
Yeah. And then something as basic as one of our first grants was laser printers for MSJ, so that they could, their students could have nice printers to print out their resumes and college applications and things like that. So.
So I mean, and I, whenever I hear about the grants that we're giving out, just thinking of, it's not just like the Mentor Connector room. So it's not just this room, it's going to be children coming in, children and teenagers coming in year over year over year over year that are having an impact from this room. And so we're constantly giving back by that one donation.
That's a great point.
Grant.
Yeah, and the same thing with like books for a classroom. We, you know, we put books in a second grade classroom in Barstow, Mrs. Buzzle's class. She's got 19 kids this year, but assume she's going to have 19 next year and the year after that and the year after that. So it does have that lasting impact, and that's what we're looking for.
And it's one of those things I think in hearing when sometimes the teachers will come to the club. We had a couple of them to say thank you for the books, and you wouldn't necessarily think that a teacher would need books in their classroom, but your wife is a teacher, so you know that in some outfitting some of these extras in their room is their funds. For us to be able to do that for these classrooms is just amazing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is a discussion we've had in our committee and as a club as we decide on these grants. Isn't that something that the school should be paying for? Maybe. But my wife, as you said, is a teacher at Northwest School. She has a budget of just a few $100s each year, and she has to buy pencils and paper and crayons and staplers and things like that. If she needs a new carpet for the classroom, or the chairs need replacing or something like that, there's just not necessarily the money there. So if we can step in and do that, it certainly can have a long and lasting impact.
Absolutely. So if someone is watching this and they're like, wow, what I'm doing could really benefit from this grant program, what does the application process look like? I mean, do they have to be a teacher? Do they have to be a 501c3 tax code? Do they have to be a specific type of entity to apply for a grant?
Absolutely not. Although, in fairness, those seem to be the types of organizations that are coming to us, and those are the ones that we've awarded the grants to so far. The main thing we're looking for is, again, a youth orientation, although it's not absolutely necessary, but that seems to be more of our focus, and helping a large amount of people. But other than that, the process is very straightforward. We intentionally made the application. People will look at our application and say, well, I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for. And that's kind of the point. We want organizations and people to tell us what they need. We don't know all the needs in the community. Tell us what you need, how we can help. And then once we have your information, we can start a dialogue and decide exactly, if we can help financially or manpower or whatever. But our application, very, very straightforward, which you can find at rutlandsouthrotary.org. It's a one-page thing. It's not you're not writing a paragraphs. It's literally a couple of sentences. We just need the name of your organization, your contact information, a brief description of the project, the dollar amount requested, the date the funding is needed, when and where the event, project, or activity will actually take place, and how can our club, Rutland South Rotary, get involved? Is there a way we can get involved other than financially to help what you're trying to accomplish here? That's the entire application process. So we've had these certainly typed. We've had many of these are handwritten applications that are just sent in. Somebody can send us an email, get the dialogue started, and we can go from there.
Okay. And what would you say what is the application timeline? So do we only accept applications a certain time of year, or is it a rolling application?
It is a rolling application. I mean, as I said, we did have a little gap when we used up the money that had been allocated. So from June, maybe late May through June, we didn't have any funds at that point. But since that point, and now we're more into an ongoing funding. So we'll take applications at any time. Certainly, the sooner somebody gets it to us, I suppose it kind of moves you to the front of the line, but that really shouldn't deter anybody, because worst case scenario, if your project is something we really feel strongly about, chances are we can find some money in our club. So there is that was a long answer, but the bottom line is there's not a set time. Okay. Get in the application as soon as you can. We'd love to see it. And we do seem to get a lot of them at the start of the school year. Maybe that's our publicity situation, as we're talking to the schools more at that point. But anytime, we're happy to consider them.
Okay. And so one of the things maybe you can clarify too, do we, when people are filling these out, we kind of want them for projects, correct? So something that's specific, not necessarily to help fund an operating budget or
correct.
Something like that?
Like we had one organization that we're actually still considering a donation, and they actually came to us with two and said, which of these do you think works best for what you're trying to do? This one would basically fund some free tickets for people to come to our facility. or second, here we'd like to buy these items to put in our facility. And our committee is feeling stronger about the second one, where we can buy these things that are going to be there. We do toot our own horn a little bit. We like to have a little plaque there if possible that says, you know, these things donated by Rutland South Rotary. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily so somebody will come and pat us on the back, but more that somebody will see that and say, oh, wow, that's what they do. Maybe we can benefit from that. Another organization will see that and think that maybe they should apply for a grant. So that's why we're trying to get our name out there, not that we need to have the pat on the back. We certainly enjoy when we do give these grants, and you mentioned it briefly. We ask the people involved in these grant projects if they'll just come and give us either a couple of minute talk at our club and tell us what the money is used for, or if they want to, they can do the whole 20-25 minute speaker thing and tell us more about their organization. We love to have that, and it makes us feel good about what we do. Again, getting back to the scholarships, we love that big breakfast, and we would just fill the room with all these parents and grandparents and students. It would be a great day, but that would be one day a year. So now we get at that on a smaller scale, but many times each year. Mm-hmm. And of course, just meeting these people, there's potential members that can, and we find other ways that we can help the club, or the club can help them, I should say. Mm-hmm. So it's a great project.
And I think, again, it comes back to having an impact. Mm-hmm. And it, like you said, it's not about the plaque, and it's not that we don't want to help fund operations to keep companies in business or not-for-profits in business, but we want to have that lasting impact, and we generally want to have, we try to steer that toward the youth. So right. Again, like funding chairs in a classroom, those are going to get used year over year over year. So it's your money working for you way out into the future. Mm-hmm. For those kids. So I think that's great. What, and this probably is going to really depend, but what is the average turnaround time? So if someone submits an application, do we email them back, or what does that process look like from their end so they know what to expect right. If they apply?
The initial application, once it gets to me, the person requesting the grant or organization requesting the grant is going to hear from me almost immediately. And what that response is simply, hi, I'm representing Rutland South Rotary. I'm the chair of this committee. We've received your grant application. Many times there's a couple of questions that jump up right away that I have. If not, I say, I'm going to present this to our committee, and you should hope to hear from us shortly. Then what happens is our committee, which, by the way, I should mention our committee members, myself, Randy Lindholm, Matt Getty, Larry Bale, and John Sanborn. We get together not as frequently as we should, perhaps, but we do a lot of discussion via email and telephone. The whole process is that we, as a committee, make a recommendation. If it's $1,000, or actually if it's under $1,000, we can bring that to the board, our Rutland South Rotary board, and the board can make a decision to fund that project or not. Anything $1,000 and over, we again bring to the board. So if the committee thinks it's a good idea, bring it to the board likes it, then over $1,000 we bring it to our entire membership to vote on. So that whole process can get a little cumbersome. It usually would take at least a month, but if there's somebody that's really in need of money and it's time sensitive, we can certainly move that up. Mm-hmm. But that's been the time frame so far, is probably about a month.
And if they receive a grant, do we do any type of follow-up with them? I mean, we did mention sometimes we might invite them back to share with the club what they have done with the money, and show us the, like we have pictures of the tables and the right. kids in their wetsuits. That's a cute one. Yeah. Do we have any other type of follow-up with them?
We do. We actually had an event last month, October 25th, I believe. We had a Rotary Day where we asked these organizations to come, along with the community, to come to had some drinks and appetizers at the Elks Club, which is where our club meets. And what we did there, number one, we had all of these, the giant checks up on the wall showing all the money that had been donated to these organizations, and just over the years, the donations. So there were just hundreds of checks on the wall. And we asked anybody that wanted to make a 1 or 2 minute talk and just tell us, what's going on, how the money has been used, what impact the grant had on their organization. So that's been fantastic. We certainly need to do a better job, I think, in maintaining contact with these folks. I mean, some of the folks we talk to frequently, for example, Mentor Connector, they've been a great, they communicate back to us. If we don't ask them what's going on, they tell us. So that's been a great situation. Certainly get thank yous all the time from classrooms that we've donated things. We should do better, but I guess, if you donate books to a classroom, I don't know how many times you can contact the teacher and say, hey, are they still reading the books?
Right.
We assume they're still reading the books.
Okay.
But, yeah.
That's awesome, though. So as we're getting ready to wrap up, we always want to end and we always share with you, our audience, the membership plug. So right now we're doing a membership drive, and if hearing about our club and hearing about how we give back to the community, if it really hits a chord with you, then we always invite you to come to our breakfast meeting, which is Thursday mornings at the Elks Club. 7:30 is when the bell rings, so that's when we start. You can certainly be late. I usually am about 5 minutes late. But definitely come by, and chances are we'll pay for your breakfast if you're seriously considering becoming a member. But we have a few minutes left, and I guess I would ask, how has this grant process impacted you as a Rotary member? And I don't know, how has that impacted you?
No, I think I feel stronger about Rotary than I ever have. And as I said, this is my 20th year in the club, so I certainly felt passionate about what we do. But everybody I talk to, and maybe because they know I'm the chair of this committee or something, they wanted to puff me up or something, but I think they really think that this has been a positive impact, a great change for us, and change in any organization is tough, but I think this has helped us become a better club. We're getting more outreach in the community. I can't say, it also got me to the point where I've been asked before to consider being the president of this club, and I've always said, I don't think so, not yet, not yet. Well, finally, I've been pushed over the edge, so starting next July 1st, I'll be the president of this, and I think that's in no small part to how connected to the club I feel because of this grant program. I just feel that's the next logical step for me to do, is to take on some of that added responsibility that everybody else has been doing over the years.
That's awesome.
So.
All right, so that kind of wraps up our show. But again, if you have an organization that could benefit from our grants program, we certainly invite you to apply for funds. We'll definitely get back to you, or Ken will get back to you and let you know where we are in that process. And also, we're always, like I said, looking for new members, people who want to have an impact in the Rutland community, who want to take part in the projects that we're doing and help have that impact on the youth in the area. So thank you for watching our show, Rutland South Rotary, Making a Difference. Have a really great holiday season, and we'll see you next time.